Welcome to Compass Points, the weekly podcast for CompassKnox.com. CompassKnox.com is your best source for news and politics in Knoxville and Knox County. You can find their daily in-depth coverage and subscribe at CompassKnox.com.
Welcome to Compass Points, a podcast about Knoxville and Knox County government, politics, business, education, and just about anything else that strikes our fancy. I'm Scott Barker, the editor of Compass. Compass is a subscription-based newsletter and website where we report on all those topics and more, and you can find us at CompassKnox.com. I'm joined, as always, by Compass co-founder Jesse Mayshark, who also hosts the Headlights podcast. Jesse, you've been visiting our 51st state. How are things north of the current border?
Yeah. I was up in Nova Scotia last week. It was a beautiful place. I'd never been there. Had wanted to go for a while. Sort of an interesting context for it, because actually we were originally planning a trip out west. We were going to go to Colorado and Utah and see some of the big western scenery that I've never seen, and we were looking forward to that. And about a week before we were supposed to go, we realized a lot of the places that we were planning to go to were surrounded by wildfires. So we rebooked and went north to Nova Scotia, which was not on fire, and
it's about the only corner of Canada that's not.
Well, that was the thing. So it was really nice while we were there. It was like highs in the 70s, lows in the 50s, just beautiful, really idyllic in a lot of ways. But the day that we left, they were already getting warnings about the smoke from the Ontario fires coming in there, and so I'm happy to be back in one of the few parts of the country that is neither on fire nor choked with smoke right now, and I guess we just hope it stays that way.
Yeah, me too. And we are recording this on Friday at the opulent studios of Barbarian Productions, where Lord Seth Barber runs things. Lord Seth, how are you, and what is the 2-day-old weather forecast?
The weather is fantastic. It's hot. I'm now regretting my, like a month and a half, 6 weeks ago somewhere that I said it's hot. That's because I was not accurate enough compared to what it is hot now. I will note that I haven't been to Fort Knox to pick up any gold to put in the studio for you. That's not where I get my gold. In case there's any concerns about it missing or whatever going on over there. So the weather's, it's gorgeous, but it's hot. It's hot. It's the oppressive kind of hot that just makes you want to stay inside and watch a movie or something like that. But yard work and stuff has to be done. So hydrate and be careful if you're going to do it.
Uh-huh.
Do it in the mornings, do it in the evenings.
And like you said, hydrate.
Now I want a bagel bite.
Oh, well, we've got a lot to talk about this week. One thing we're going to discuss briefly is the first apartment development that is not directly affiliated with the Covenant Health Park is approved, and they're about ready to break ground. We'll talk about it briefly. The city council got an update on What's Up Knoxville, and we'll tell you what's up with What's Up Knoxville. Then we've got election stuff. There's a lot of election stuff. There was a forum in Farragut for the Farragut election. There was a mayor's forum here in Knoxville for the Knox County mayor's race, which was an interesting evening. And then the big thing is, of course, early voting started Friday for the federal, the state primaries, the county general election, and the aforementioned Farragut election. And early voting will last through August 1st. You can go to 11 locations in Knox County. Knoxvotes.org has all the locations, the hours they're open, and all that. It's basically Monday through Saturday for 2 weeks. Not on Sundays; they'll be closed. And you need to prepare to be there a while, because there's a lot of stuff on the ballot. There's the election commission said that depending on where you live, you can have 24 to 27 races to vote on. So it's a long ballot, and people need to take that into account when they go to the polls, and we'll see how many of Knox County's 268,000, give or take, registered voters actually show up. So,
and one thing that's on there that I not always, but sometimes forget about until I get there, you do, because this is a state and federal primary, in addition to being the county general, if you want to vote in the primary, you request a party primary ballot, as we know. If you get a party primary ballot, in addition to whatever primaries there may be for your party, which I don't think there are any Democratic primaries, once again, in the state races. I think those are only on the Republican side. But you're also going to have those committee members, the party committee members to vote on. So, and you're not required to vote for those at all. But just, you might want to take a look at the sample ballot, whichever ballot you're planning to get. And you can find those on the website at knoxvotes.org. And just kind of prepare yourself so that you're not sitting there looking at a list of 40 names trying to pick a couple.
Well, to avoid that, but you would also avoid voting in a primary. You can get a county general election ballot only. That's so you would not be able to vote in the state and federal primaries, but you would be able to vote in the county general election if you do that. So. But anyway,
and the Farragut election, if you
live in Farragut, yes. And anyway, like I said, early voting started Friday. It's going for 2 weeks. If you are unsure whether you will be able to make it on election day, or you just want to get things done early, you got 11 choices, places to go. All throughout the county, and get out there and vote. We don't care when you vote, as long as you do. So the big news of the week was for the election anyway, was that there was a candidate or a forum for mayor candidates at First Church of the Nazarene in West Hills. It was put on by the West Hills community group, community association, and it was kind of interesting. They hadn't put on a forum before, and you could tell a little bit. Some of it went very smoothly. Some of it was crowd was a little rowdy. Betsy Henderson, the Republican nominee, and Bo Hawk, the Democratic nominee, were there. It was a crowd of it was a good crowd, well over 100 people in the sanctuary there. They were kind of split. Probably close to 2/3 were Hawk supporters, and the rest were either Henderson supporters or people just there.
Did you have any sense? I mean, it's probably hard to tell in a room like that. Like, how many people were actually from West Hills, or did they come in from sort of all over?
Oh, they came in from all over, but a lot of them were from West Hills. I mean, I think the vast majority were probably city residents. Hence I think since the city does tend to vote more Democratic, hence the
West Hills does too, although only sort of. I feel like West Hills has turned. West Hills used to be pretty Republican, and it's turned more Democratic, but not solidly. I would say it sort of hovers around the 50 to 55%, I think, in most elections.
Yeah, and they were. But anyway, the crowd was there. The one of the things. This is one of the reasons it's not. When you're used to going to the League of Women Voters forums, one of the things that they do is they they screen the questions to make sure they're not loaded, to make sure that basically that
they don't include an insult of some particular candidate,
right?
That kind of thing. Yeah.
Well, the good folks in West Hills did not do that. So
they let people in the audience just ask questions directly, right?
Right. They you raised your hand, they went to you with the microphone. Here you go.
Dangerous thing to hand that microphone to the audience.
It was. There were quite a few loaded questions in there. A little bit of speechifying before asking the questions. and that sort of thing.
My favorite is always when people say, "I have a comment and a question," and then they go into a soliloquy.
Yes, and the primary thing there is comment.
Right.
That's the operative word.
Exactly.
But they did cover the kind of the main issues. They asked, the first question came from the neighborhood group, and they said it was what's the top issue facing Knox County. It was infrastructure or growth, interchangeable. They used them almost interchangeably anyway, because we got to manage our growth, and we have to do that by managing our infrastructure, or we have to manage infrastructure, which will help with growth, those kinds of things. And so that was and they both gave those variations. There were questions about taxes, of course, the property taxes. Henderson, of course, has said that she's pledged to never propose a property tax increase. Hawk is a little more nuanced. He has said that last Wednesday that he would not propose a property tax increase right out of the gate. But one thing that he said that he would do is kind of assemble a committee to look at the county's revenues in general, the whole revenue picture. Assess, what those revenues are, whether they're adequate or not, and make decisions moving on from there. So he's not ruled out property tax increase for his entire term if he wins. While Henderson has, of course, there were a lot of questions about, well, how can you, then there's questions, almost a loaded question for her. Well, how can you expect to pay off the debt if you're not going to raise taxes? And it was kind of interesting. Her answer was that the county finance department has kind of baked the ballooning payments, because they're going to balloon up from about $89 million now to over $100 million by 2030, kind of level out and then go down. And after that, assuming there's no more new debt, she said, well, they've accounted for that. They've got our revenues should be sufficient to cover that, going forward, because they've accounted for it.
Which is true, although it doesn't say anything about how much revenues you then have left to do anything else.
Yes.
Nobody doubts that Knox County is going to pay its debts. Obviously, Knox County is going to pay its debts. And as we already saw with this year's budget vote, once you pay all the stuff you have to pay, the county is already not left with very much money to do anything else. So. Yeah,
and one of the things is you have to pay the debt first.
Yep.
That is the big thing, so then they talk about. I mean, when we talk about these loaded questions, a couple of things that kind of came to mind. There were several questions about school vouchers. Now, Henderson was the chair of the school board. She's still on the school board, at least until September. They asked about vouchers. She is a staunch supporter of vouchers. She went, even though the Knox County School Board kind of opposed supporting vouchers, she went to the state legislature and testified in support of vouchers. She has made no bones about the fact that she's pro school choice, and she, there were several questions about vouchers and things like that. People who were obviously trying to kind of get her on that question. Of course, the thing about it is vouchers are a state issue now. I mean, it's not. She's no longer on. She would no longer be on the school board, whether win or lose. So she's not going to be on the school board anymore. And so there's no. I mean, only by tangent would she be even interested in the voucher debate.
She can advocate for them, which, to be fair, our current county mayor, Glenn Jacobs, has been a school voucher supporter the entire time he's been in office.
Yeah.
So having a county mayor who's a school voucher proponent would not be anything new for Knox County.
No, and but the county mayor can't do anything about vouchers. And there was even one about the transparency of the voucher program or lack thereof, and basically that's a state issue. That's something you can bring up to your the legislative candidates. On the other hand, there were questions toward Bo Hawk about his now kind of infamous trip to Venezuela 6 years ago. Of course, he went on a trip to Venezuela as part of it was the trip apparently was organized by the Freedom Road Socialist Organization, which is affiliated with the Teamsters, and he was a member of the Teamsters in 2020 when this happened. He went to Venezuela, a Maduro regime propaganda arm posted photo, showed him there, quoted him, he says inaccurately about it, and so of course the Henderson and Jacobs and others have seized on that as evidence that he's a communist. And to be fair, the Freedom Road Socialist Organization is an avowed Marxist organization.
They call themselves a Marxist-Leninist group.
And so they really pounced on that. The first questioner who was going to ask about it, the minute he said, or the second he said Venezuela, the Hawk supporters in there started calling him down and booing him and calling him down, and he ended up not asking the question. The moderator, Lee Hume, said, well, let's move on. Let's not get personal. And so a little while later, another person stood up and started talking about, mentioned Venezuela, and people booed and called him down. His question was a little different. We don't know what the first guy's question was going to be. This man's question was that he had seen a Goodreads list of hawks that was full of radical communist titles. He didn't say which ones, what they were, but said it's since been taken down, and asked them about their reading list. The people are still booing them and stuff, and it was a little raucous there for a little bit. And finally he just said, what's your political philosophy? And that kind of, so he wanted to kind of get to that, and that way, and
kind of asking, are you a communist, basically?
Yes, it was. And basically Hawk kind of, that was an out for both of them, to not be pinned down a little bit. But Hawk basically said his philosophy was, he's an American, a trade union rep, and a Knox County resident. That's where he comes from. Henderson said, of course, she's very religious, talked about that, talked about her, and that freedom and liberty were her guiding principles for how she would govern. So it ended up being a question that wasn't, didn't elicit anything that was real insightful,
revelatory
on William. Then there was a third question that came up that didn't mention Venezuela, but kind of was designed to give Hawk an out a little bit, I think, on this, because the person got up and said, well, Ms. Henderson, you served for the last 6 years on the school board, which happens to be the length of time it's been since Hawk went to Venezuela. and said, "What have you guys learned in the past 6 years?" And Bo Hawk said he just learned a lot, the last 6 years, and he's always learning, that sort of thing. And Henderson said, "Well, nobody's the same, after 6 years of doing whatever it is you're doing." So again, but that was kind of interesting, the way that they tried to frame these questions to get around being either accusatory or overly supportive of candidates. But it was, there were some other questions. A couple we didn't get to our story. They asked about the Office of Housing Stability, which both of them support. They actually asked one interesting question about fire service. There'd been a county technical advisory service look at Knox County several years ago that said that they ought to consider establishing a fire department, countywide fire department. Of course, now we've got a kind of combination, some volunteer fire departments in rural metro, which is a subscription service for service outside the city limits of Knoxville. Of course, the city of Knoxville has its own fire department. Henderson basically said that's going to cost too much money. She even she threw out a figure of $200 million. Didn't write about it, so didn't try to verify that. So, but that's the figure she threw out.
And that was basically Jacob's response to that study, because that study came in early in Jacob's first term, because I think it had actually been commissioned under the previous county mayor, Tim Burchett, and Jacobs very quickly shot down any notion that the county was going to be establishing a countywide fire service for exactly that reason. It was going to cost too much.
Yeah, So Hawk said that, hey, we could take a look at it. Was very non-committal. We could take a look at that and see. Anyway, the forum went on for, it actually it was supposed to last an hour, last a little longer than an hour. One interesting questioner, it was Henderson was there. They're getting ready, getting close to the end, and Henderson pointed to a young man who was standing on the edge of the sanctuary there and said, "I talked to him. He's in high school. I think we need to include somebody, a young person. So I'm going to see what he's got to ask." And I think a lot of people thought, okay, this is a plant,
right? It was like a friend's kid or something.
And actually, it turns out I don't know that it was, because it was a kid apparently plays football at West High School, and his question was, he was obviously still very angry that the former football coach at West was fired.
Yeah.
After
that was a big deal.
Members of his staff were charged with improper contact with minors and that sort of thing, and he said that they never got an explanation, that he demanded more transparency from the school board. And Henderson pointed out, well, or at least she said, that this is more of a school superintendent question, not a school board question. Hawk had no real answer to it. I mean, it wasn't directed at him. But that was kind of an interesting little aside there. And then
careful what you ask for when you invite the kids to start asking questions.
Yes, because you know how kids are. They'll ask some good ones.
They're usually really, really good liars. So I'll ask this, and then they'll come out and ask something completely different.
Well, then, the final question was interesting too. It again goes back to where they're coming from as leaders. The question was about who has most influenced them, their political thought, and their Henderson said, as a Republican, she said the first name out of her mouth was Ronald Reagan, which is pretty common. But then she talked about Jimmy Duncan, and she worked for Jimmy Duncan when she got out of college. It was her first job. She said that he's been a mentor to her. They talk almost every day. So had a lot of really interesting things to say about former Congressman Duncan, and Hawk took a different tack. He mentioned a woman named Vonda McDaniel, who was the head of the Nashville Central Labor Council.
Yep.
He is the head of the Knoxville, Oak Ridge, Knoxville Central Labor Council. So,
Jesse, why do I know that name? Do I know that name for a reason?
Yes, because I interviewed Vonda McDaniel on the Headlights podcast for the Progressive South last year. She was one of my first interviews, and she was great. That was the only time I ever got to meet or talk to her, although we corresponded a bit online after that. So I was very sad to... She died young. I think she was only 60 or so.
Yeah, she just passed, and he mentioned that.
Yeah.
And, but he talked about, kind of how... he, learned from her about showing up and being engaged and making sure other people are engaged and building coalitions and building partnerships, which is kind of one of the themes of his campaign. So, it's kind of interesting. Anyway,
I'll make a note. We'll fix it.
Okay.
I don't know where we are, but I'll fix it.
Anyway, that was I'm sorry.
You're good.
The forum was, like I said, well attended. There were some good things that came out of it. Some of it was just kind of fun theater, election time theater. So,
well, I think it's interesting that the fact that Hawk supporters reacted that way to the Venezuela questions. I mean, that's a very legitimate question to ask. If you have somebody who's running for office, and it's unusual for any local candidate to have gone to Venezuela to participate politically in any way. And maybe people are being a little sensitive about that. I did see that Hawk put out a video finally, I think just on Thursday, kind of directly addressing it and explaining what the trip was and why he went. But I feel like he took a little while to give a coherent explanation for that whole thing.
And the you mean for the whole Venezuela trip? Yeah. He's not been really. The closest he came to that when I talked to him was kind of hey, I was in the union. I was a Teamster. I was. And to mention the organization Freedom Road Socialist Organization is they partner with the Teamsters on a lot of things, but also that year he changed his union affiliation to the United Iron Workers, and the Iron Workers was working for them and no longer was working with the Teamsters. And he said that he hasn't had really any contact with Freedom Road since then. And now that doesn't, he has said that, hey, the optics were dumb, and I think there's no denying that. And
well, what I think is really interesting about it, and looking at the reaction to it, like the Republicans and certainly Henderson's campaign are reacting exactly as you would expect them to, in a case where, I mean, people on the right like to call people on the left Marxist, communist, radical leftists, regardless of what their actual philosophies are. President Trump calls everybody radical left lunatics all the time. But to have somebody who actually was involved with an organization that calls itself Marxist-Leninist, of course that the Republicans are going to see that as sort of like a free kick, to use a little bit of World Cup terminology there. Been watching some soccer. But what's interesting to me is that I feel like the reaction among Democrats in Knox County has just been a collective, so what, who cares? Which is interesting because I feel like 5 years ago, even, certainly 10 years ago, something like that, there would have been, I think, some people in the Democratic Party, some of your more centrist establishment types or whatever, maybe panicking a little bit, maybe like, do we want to, maybe some of the other Democratic candidates trying to put some distance from him and so forth. And I feel like you really haven't seen that. In fact, I feel like Hawk, at least as far as his social media goes, he has a large presence, and he's got plenty of followers online who pop up on every news story about him and news stories about Henderson. It hasn't visibly hurt him with sort of like your core Democratic supporters. And of course, this is coming at a time where we've had Democratic socialists winning Democratic Party primaries elsewhere in the country. There's a lot of talk about that. So I don't know what impact this is going to have. We'll find out in just a couple of weeks when we have the election. But it seems at least possible that Hawk is going to have sort of a basic Democratic candidate showing in Knox County at a time when a lot of Democrats are pretty active and looking to signal their displeasure both with local, state, and federal policies. And it's interesting to watch because I feel like the Republicans grabbed onto this immediately, as you would very much expect them to do, and saw it as just kind of a killer. I mean, I think the Republicans expect to win that race anyway. Yeah. But I think once this came out, they were like, well, this guy's toast. Like, this is just over. Andrew Davis, local Republican consultant, wrote in the News Sentinel that Hawk should withdraw his name from the ballot, that this was just fundamentally disqualifying. But I can't tell that has had any impact at all on his support among just sort of like mainstream establishment Democrats.
Yeah. And, and one thing was interesting is after the primary, there was some dissension among Republicans about Henderson's victory. There was they had a text message among county commissioners and party chair Martin Daniel. He was saying that rumor has it people are going to be donating money to and supporting Bo Hawk and not the Republican nominee. And he basically said, woe be unto you if you do that. And of course, he got pushback from Commissioner Terry Hill, who actually lives in the same district as Henderson,
and who has not been close with Henderson.
No, not at all. No, she's not had any good things to say about her at all. One of the people she defeated was Commissioner Kim Frazier, and I saw the other day there was some event in Northwest Knox County, and while I don't think that you can't say that this was them endorsing him by any stretch of the imagination, but they posted photos of him with them.
Right. I think, it was the Hardin Valley Planning Alliance, which was the group that Frazier formed in Hardin Valley. And the photos from and I think both Hawk and Henderson were invited to that event, and Henderson did not show up, probably reading it as an unfriendly room, which is maybe not inaccurate on her part. But I thought that was interesting that Frazier and Hill were both posing for photos with Hawk. Obviously, they're not endorsing him. He was just at their event. Yeah. But again, the optics were interesting.
Yeah, and you go and look at her campaign finance things. There aren't any contributions from either one of them. Nothing from Larson J., who was also ran against her in the primary, basically she said, you guys aren't conservative enough, you're not Republican enough, and they took umbrage about toward that. But it's kind of interesting the way that has played out, and it's kind of an undercurrent, I think, with this whole thing, because Henderson doesn't have I don't think she's got a lot of support among the more moderate Republicans. Yeah. Now,
I don't know if that translates into moderate Republicans voting for a Democrat.
And a moderate, first of all, it doesn't necessarily translate into that. It often hasn't in the past. And second, the Venezuela thing could put them as being, well, I don't want to vote for Henderson, but I'm not going to vote for a communist, or or whatever it is is in their heads. So anyway,
right. And so then the question becomes, well, then do some people stay home? And like these are all sort of the scenarios that are out there that we'll be doing a lot of analysis on in August.
Yes. Anyway, that wasn't the only mayoral or the only election forum of the week. The town of Farragut had an election forum as well on Monday at the Farragut Community Center. The Tennessee Strategies, which is a consulting group founded by former Knox County Mayor Mike Ragsdale and his former Chief of Staff, Mike Arms, hosted this. It was in Farragut. They're having a mayor's race and a race for 2 open seats on the board of mayor and alderman. That is their version of city council. The forum was broken up into a section for the mayoral candidates, and then a second section for the alderman candidates. The only mayoral candidate who showed up, there are 2 people running, Louise Pavlin, and who's a former vice mayor and alderman herself, and current alderman Alex Kane. They are the running for that. Only Pavlin showed up. Kane did not. And so Mike Ragsdale, who, as I said, was the founder of the sponsor Tennessee Strategies, was the moderator for the mayor's portion of it. So he wound up just having kind of a discussion with Pavlin. There was no real back and forth, nothing even resembling a debate. But the second half of the forum was devoted toward the Board of Aldermen races. I was the moderator for it, and I was able to ask questions of the candidates for Ward 1, which is north of Kingston Pike, Diane Hall and Joey Ruffalo. The Ward 2 candidates were Joe LaCroix and Greg Wibberly. LaCroix was there, and Wibberly was not. So LaCroix had that part of it all to himself. So one of the things that's kind of interesting, Farragut's kind of an interesting place. It's very it's upscale compared to the rest of Knox County. It's a small town, about 26,000 residents. They don't have a property tax. They rely entirely on sales taxes. They don't have a police department. They rely on the sheriff's office. They don't have a fire department. People are supposed to subscribe to rural metro if they want fire service. Kind of a different breed of cat out there. So
yeah, they do provide some public services. They have a couple of parks, and they also do take care of their own streets. But I mean, the main reason Farragut formed as a government, and the main thing that they care about and do, is land use regulation and limiting growth and development and trying to protect the quality of life. That's kind of their entire raison d'etre.
Yeah, and in fact, one of the things you mentioned about development, had the big town center development that went in, mixed use development that went in a couple of years ago now, mm-hmm. And the controversy around that kind of prompted them to kind of ban apartment buildings. You can't build an apartment building now in Farragut, so they have their own planning commission. That's one of their rules: is you can't no multifamily developments there. So it's almost all single family houses. So it's it's a collection of kind of upscale subdivisions and commercial areas, and Anyway, one of the things that I asked them was, they all say they wanted to preserve the character of Farragut. And I asked them, well, what is the character of Farragut? And why do you want to save it? Of course, a lot of them mention the neighborhoods and the quality of the people in the neighborhoods. It is a small town, so that it's going to have a different feel to it than, for instance, the city of Knoxville neighborhoods do. They also addressed traffic congestion. That's a major issue in Farragut. They've got a new automated traffic management system to help with traffic flow, but they talked about the need for improving the street network in Farragut, which is kind of limited in a way. I mean, they've got the two major roads in Farragut are Kingston Pike, which is a state road, and Campbell Station Road, which comes from the Interstate 40 down south to Kingston Pike. That's those two spines are most of the commercial areas are in Farragut.
But Turkey Creek too, obviously.
Yeah. They get they've got a little end of Turkey Creek. Yep. They're kind of buddy. Most of Turkey Creek's inside the city of Knoxville.
Yep.
And but anyway, one of the things that came up was a lot of the traffic problems in Farragut can be traced to the development around Farragut. Southwest Knox County, around the Choteau area, between Farragut and the river, is kind of one area that's grown exponentially. Then, of course, north of Farragut, you're getting up toward Hardin Valley. There's a lot of growth up there, and a lot of things that one of the things that a lot of people inside Knox County might not realize, Loudoun County, just across the Loudoun County line from Farragut, has grown quite a bit out there too. So you've got all this growing population around Farragut, and those that traffic goes through Farragut. You have to, if you're in some of those areas, you just about have to go through Farragut to get anywhere in Knox County. So there's they were talking. There's a lot of talk about they need to start communicating better with officials in Knox County, the not only their county commissioners, but the staff there, do more coordinating with them on development. Same with Loudoun County, and trying to do things and find more regional solution, or kind of an area solution to their traffic problems. It was kind of interesting. They had about 100 people or so, maybe more, there at that forum. They were these Farragutians, as we've decided that is the as far as we know, is the proper way to refer to people from Farragut. Very engaged, very interested, very passionate about their town and their politics. So there are about 100 people there. And I didn't, in this forum, there weren't questions from the audience. There were questions that we came up with in conjunction with Tennessee Strategies. And so there weren't audience questions, but they were very engaged nonetheless. One of the things that was interesting, of course, Kane and Wibberley did not show up. There was no explanation given at the forum for why they didn't show up, but later Brian Hornback, who is a blogger, he's prominent. He's a prominent Republican. He's on the state executive committee of the Republican Party. He's a former Knox County Party chair. He speculated that that Kane and Wibberley didn't participate because they didn't want to get involved in a forum with personal attacks. There's some apparently some bad blood with them and some of the the other candidates who are more aligned with Mayor Ron Williams, and so that's why they didn't show. They didn't say why they didn't show. But the forum ended up being very civil. I guess maybe because they weren't there. Who knows? But it was very civil, very, the biggest thing that went on is there was some good-natured ribbing between Hall and Ruffalo, who are running for the same seat. So that was kind of interesting. Like I said, Farragut people are very passionate about their politics. It'll be interesting to see who comes out on top, to see if they can if there's much of a whatever change in direction won't be much. I mean, one of the things is that everybody, almost all the people I've ever talked to, kind of agree with those essential tenets that they talked about.
Yeah, I mean, I think Pavlin, you talk about people being close to current mayor Ron Williams. Pavlin obviously has been. She was vice mayor when she was an alderman and worked closely with Williams. I think she is probably perceived by people as being more of a kind of continuation candidate if you're looking for somebody who's going to maybe take a somewhat similar approach as Williams has. As you say, kind of all of the different factions in Farragut share a lot of general principles and commitments to preserving the character of the town. But there has been in recent years this kind of growing little sort of dissident group that I think Kane and Wibberley are maybe more affiliated with, that is sort of even more extreme in its distaste for any kind of new density and new development, and is a little more these are nonpartisan races, they're nonpartisan offices, but this faction is a little more MAGA. Kind of everybody. I'm not going to say everybody in Farragut's a Republican, but Farragut votes very heavily Republican overall. So these are not so much party differences as maybe people who are more focused on, just kind of dealing with local issues versus bringing a more ideological framework, which some of the newer people coming into Farragut and into Farragut government in recent years have been in that direction a little bit, I think, including Kane. The other thing to note about Kane not showing up is that we reported, the News Sentinel reported, it's been widely reported in recent weeks, that Kane lost a job with Knox County Schools about 5 years ago. His contract as a teacher was not renewed because of sort of some cumulative complaints about his behavior and some inappropriate behavior maybe with students. To be clear, he was never criminally charged with anything, but there were some documented complaints about him from both students and teachers. And I don't know that he's made a whole lot of public appearances where he's going to get asked a lot of questions since those stories came out. I don't know if Ragsdale would have asked about that if Kane had been there, but there were probably people in the audience who would have been expecting to hear a little bit about that.
Yeah, I think I think you're right. I think they would have been expecting one, and what should have been asked, and who knows? I mean, one of the things about Farragut politics is it's very personal, because in part I think because it's a small town. Somebody else might have brought it up if Ragsdale didn't, either Pavlin or one of the council candidates, even though he wouldn't have the opportunity to respond to a council candidate. Who knows about that? But yeah, I mean that's one of the things that you don't know. You can see his impulse for not wanting to go to a public forum like that if in light of that reporting, and you'd probably rather talk to voters one-on-one about that and give his side of what happened. So, but anyway, bottom line was he didn't show up, and he wasn't able to make his case to the voters who did show up. And so, but anyway, Farragut voters, like voters the rest of Knox County, are going to the polls for early voting now, and we'll see how the folks in Farragut, the Farragutians, make their decisions. So that was about it for the big political events of the week. In the city of Knoxville, Knoxville City Council had a work session on Thursday about what's next, Knoxville. It was which is a project to overhaul the city's comprehensive plan and land use plan. So it's all about land use. It's very similar to what Knox County did a couple of years ago with its comprehensive plan and the Advanced Knox process. This is also using lots of public input. The city's consultant for the project, Interface Studio from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, representatives were there at council to give them an update. And one of the things that got started in April, and they've been gathering information from Knoxville residents. They've been holding meetings. They've been going to events. What was it, Seth? Did they not go to?
Yeah, they came down to Holyrood.
Yeah.
They did a derby. They did a derby car, and they did a booth, and they had information there, and they were talking to people on site as well as giving them some information on where to go do the survey and other listening sessions and stuff that they were doing. It was basically they were handing out a calendar and other ways to get involved in it. Yeah, it was fun. They were a fun group. They had a fun car.
Well, so far they've talked about 6,000 residents. They've also got a community survey that they're doing. They've got 1,800 responses to it. They're saying that this is the participation is higher even in raw numbers, not just percentage wise, than it was in a similar process that they did in Charlotte, North Carolina on their comprehensive plan. So there's been a lot of public input, so they're thinking that this is going to be, the land use plan that they come up with will align with a lot with what residents have said they wanted. And one of the things that they shared about what residents want is, and these are things that, if you live in Knoxville, you kind of already know it. But no matter how the people love green spaces, they like the parks, they like their greenways, like nature, like the urban wilderness. That is a big priority for residents, and residents also kind of like this small town, big city duality that Knoxville has. It's a small enough city to where if you go to events, go places, you're likely to run into someone you know. But it's also a big enough city to where there's lots of things to do, lots of concerts, lots of shows, lots of sporting events, activities, all kinds of things to do, and
restaurants, and
restaurants,
bars,
yes,
drag shows,
yes,
whether some people want them to be here or not.
Yeah. So anyway, what they're doing is they are kind of, I won't say winding down their public input gathering yet. They are going to continue to do that, but now they're starting to kind of take the input and formulate it into strategies and all to come up with the plan itself. So that's going to be what's going on in the next couple of months. The consultants said in addition to those things, residents want to see more housing. They want to see more options for housing. Of course, the city's been trying to do that.
Although not always on their own street or in their own neighborhood, as we know. But the one of the things they pointed out is been pointed out many times before about people here. Up until the 1940s, there was a lot more diverse housing stock. Since the 40s,
basically it's been single family houses or large apartment buildings, and not a whole lot in between. County administration is able to get in place middle housing standards for like duplexes, triplexes, smaller apartment buildings, those kinds of things. We haven't had a whole lot of we had quite a few duplexes have gone through, but it's not been in place long enough to have a real impact yet, if it ever has an impact. But that people want that. They want improvements and investments in infrastructure, which of course basically means roads and streets, and that they want to see development along the city's corridors. The consultants were a little cautionary about that. Basically they trying to dampen some expectations, because they mentioned that not all corridors are created equal. There are different areas. Some of the corridors are more auto-centric than others, and some are more auto-centric toward further away from the city's core that you get, and the areas closer to downtown are the ones that are kind of more walkable, and having walkable neighborhoods is another thing that residents have told them that they want to see. So, of course, none of that is new to anybody who has been following development in.
I do want to ask real quick: was there any mention, at least, of any countable numbers of updates to the CAT system or any other mass transit conversation?
There were people who would like to see better transit.
Okay.
But now they don't have a lot of concrete numbers. Now, as far as that goes, there are some. A lot of the responses. CAT is one of those walkable neighborhoods. I don't recall the numbers off the top of my head, but the things that I've already talked about, those are kind of come up more often than others.
Gotcha.
And but now one of the things is that this isn't going to come up with a plan to fix CAT or to improve CAT, or
right.
A plan to. All this is going to end up doing in the long run is identify areas where commercial development should be encouraged, where residential development should be. One of the things that was kind of interesting is they came up with a number, or at least a percentage, said that only 15% of the land in Knoxville is really developable, and everybody there kind of went, "That's, you got to be kidding! We got all these empty places on these corridors and everything." And but what they did is they talked about what is not developable, and by the sense of that, it was the multifamily commercial. So single family residential neighborhoods were kind of thrown out of that equation, as were places like the University of Tennessee, the Sharps Ridge, the ridge top there, where you can't develop there, rights of way, things like that. They get down to only 15% of the land that could be developed for commercial and multi-family residential use is available. So a lot of property might be underutilized, and you might can think of better things that could go there than are there now, but they didn't look at it that way. They went, okay, this is being used. So kind of like if there's a shopping center that used to be anchored by a grocery store that is no longer anchored by a grocery store, but there's something in there, and they're the shops are have some check cashing things or whatever. Those are utilized according to the way that they look at things. So, but anyway, as I said earlier, they're getting ready to take the feedback they've gotten so far, they're going to start developing these ideas for fleshing out the plan. And they're going to be taking these back to people as well, saying, okay, this is what we think we said. This is what we heard you say. Is this what you meant? Is this really what you want? And they're going to be developing this plan. And by the first of the year, they're supposed to have kind of a draft of the plan, a land use map that is probably the most effective tool they can have, because you really don't you say, okay, you want to develop along corridors. Well, if you don't look at a map, it's hard to figure out where you're talking about. It's one thing to kind of know, okay, this is Chapman Highway or this is Western Avenue, but it's another thing to look at the map and see kind of how development is already there from a kind of that 60,000 foot perspective. So anyway, they're going to bring that stuff back to council when they have a plan at around the first of the year. And then one thing is it's basically this is going to have to put a fit with the update to the zoning code that the city did during Recode Knoxville a few years ago. And it's kind of the opposite approach that the county took to their update, because the county updated its comprehensive plan first and then is going to attack zoning and other development related activities. The city's doing it the opposite way, but the goal is to end up having a comprehensive plan that aligns with the new zoning code the city developed 5 or 6 years ago. And regarding development that's much more imminent than the development anticipated in the What's Next Knoxville process, the Knoxville Design Review Board took a look at a new apartment development project adjacent to Covenant Health Park. Now, this is going to be the first, apparently, when they break ground, which they are planning to break ground in first quarter of 2027, be the first new residential development around the stadium that's not part of the stadium development. There's condos and apartments that are part of the stadium development that overlook the stadium. This is the next ring out. This is will be a 245 unit apartment building to be built by Alpha Residential. They are a Pittsburgh-based development firm. It's going to be just about all apartments. It's going to have 3,400 square feet of retail space. This is going to be located across. Well, first of all, the location is on Patton Street between Georgia and Florida Streets. Florida Street runs behind the Yardley Flats Apartments, which overlook the third baseline of Covenant Health Park. This block that it's going to be on right now is a commercial area. There's a industrial building there now. This will have it'll be 7 stories tall, 3 floors, actually 2.5 floors will be part of the ground level. Underneath and ground level will have 263 parking spaces. It will be, it's kind of designed to kind of suggest some of the industrial buildings around it. The It had to go before the design review board because in downtown, when new developments do have to do that to make sure that they adhere to the design guidelines that are in place for downtown development. This does. The interesting thing about the meeting on Wednesday of the design review board was true to its name. They really care about design, and the several of the members are architects. They really question some of the design of the building. The one thing that they didn't like, and one thing that I can confidently recommend to developers is, if you're going to develop something downtown, do not use faux wood siding of any kind. They do not like that there. They were planning to this developer, Alpha Residential, was planning to use a little bit of that on the exterior. These metal plates that are kind of etched to look like wood, and the design review board convinced them not to do that. To use
they think it looks cheesy. I think.
Yeah, it's just not authentic, and why fake it? If you're not going to use wood, use use the characteristics of the material you're using. So they're going to just give something that has kind of a brownish color to it, cladding there. Anyway, the one thing though that they did talk about is several of the members did not like it that this as the plans and the renderings that they saw from the firm just looked like every other apartment building, and they really didn't like that. They wanted something more distinctive. They think that downtown deserves more distinctive architecture than that.
Although the downtown design guidelines do not actually require that. Like, I don't think the design guidelines say anything about your building needs to not look like other apartment buildings.
Yeah, that's true, and that's but I think it's the human element of the board.
That's right. The prerogative. You're an architect. You're on the board. You get to say what you want at the meeting.
And they took issue with it. One of the things that they took issue with, like I said, they said it looked like other apartment buildings, and that's true. Now, one thing is on the northwest corner of that building, which is the one that you see if you come off of Jackson Avenue from the front of the stadium and go down Florida. That is what you see, is the corner there. It is that's where the retail space is going to be, and it already has kind of an interesting feature in that it's rounded off. It's not a square corner; it's kind of rounded off. Looks pretty interesting. It's got a big arch. It's all brick. The first two stories are brick. Have a brick facade on them to the whole building, and so the board members kind of honed in on that corner as a place or an opportunity for the developer and his architect to make it a more distinctive building, and they discussed that for a while about how to make that stand out. And it is kind of interesting because when you look at it, especially you come down Jackson Avenue from Central at the main intersection of the old city, right there is the old Patrick Sullivan Saloon building, mm-hmm. and which is now home to Lonesome Dove restaurant.
But it's one of the most distinctive buildings, I think, in all of downtown.
Yeah, and it's at its corner on Jackson and Central. It's kind of rounded. It's got a turret and a cupola on top. Now, the board members didn't mention that building. They did not say anything about a cupola or anything, but you can see where, with a little work, this corner could suggest that
could have a little
building.
echo down.
Yeah, it'd be a little echo of that building. Certainly imitating it would replicating it would be cost prohibitive in this day and age, but they agreed to do that. They agreed to take a look at it and try to do that and make that corner more distinctive. One of the things that was interesting is the design review board said, okay, well, great. Well, we're just going to postpone this for a month, and then you bring back the revised plans to us. And that's where the developer kind of balked at doing that. They're like, listen, we're on a timeline here. We've got, they're going to be asking city council for a payment in lieu of tax agreement. They've got to satisfy the timeline of their lenders, which when you cover real estate and development and all, you come to realize pretty quickly that those lenders are the ones who really drive everything. You can't do anything. You might be able to build something without a tax incentive from the city, but you sure as heck can't build anything without financing.
Yep.
So, that's the thing. And if they give you a timeline, you got to stick to it. And so they persuaded the board not to make that a stipulation. They just agreed to take a look at that and make some alterations that would be acceptable, and they're going to file those through staff when they go through the application processes, the permitting process, rather than coming back to the board again. But that's a project that I think a lot of people in city and county governments have been looking forward to projects like this ever since they started talking about building the stadium. However many years ago that was, 7-8 years ago, and it's a substantial development. And one of the things the developers said, now originally they were going to build a taller building with 400 or more units instead of just 245. So maybe an extra 200 units, double the size. But they decided that the market wasn't quite there yet. Now, one of the things they're saying is they're also talking about other nearby property that they may develop in the future as well. One of the things is it's funny, right there is a Georgia Street. It's basically a cul-de-sac, and it's lined with old industrial property. Affiliate of David Dewhurst's and Mark Hines' company, Dewhurst Properties, owns all that property. Don't know if that's the property he's talking about, but certainly could be. I mean, while Dewhurst does most often develop his own property, sometimes he doesn't. The property over on Depot, that's where another residential development's going in, is a property that he owned that he's selling to the developer. The developer's actually going to build there, but this according to the developer, and things can change. According to the developer, they're intending to do other residential projects right in that area as well. And as we all know from following this, that's been one of the key priorities that the city and the county have had in promoting the stadium, and justifications for the public portion of the financing for the stadium. So, this was the last. Other than getting a payment in lieu of tax agreement, this is the last concrete thing that would keep them from breaking ground. I mean, they had to get a certificate of appropriateness from the design review board. They've got that. They can go get permits anytime they want now. So, Anyway, that's moving on there. That is that's it for the news from last week that we're going to talk about. A lot more happened. We covered a lot more. We had we had some candidate profiles for the upcoming election in there. You can go to compassknox.com and read those. You can, if you subscribe, you would have our access to our website and to our newsletter, where we have a lot of more news as well. So we covered a lot of stuff other than those 5 or 6 items. And if you go there and subscribe, you too can follow this type of news from Knoxville. So
and now that we're into early voting, the profiles are coming out of the paywall. So for those of you who are subscribers and want to show your friends how good this stuff is.
That's right. We'll be moving our election coverage outside the paywall this coming week, as we do in the weeks leading up to an election. And so if you are not a subscriber, or you are a subscriber and you want to share our coverage with friends and family, those will be outside the paywall on our website. So look for that.
Absolutely. So
CompassKnox.com.
Yes. Now, this week, coming up, early voting will continue all week long. We'll keep tabs on how many folks are voting on turnout, as we usually do. But you can go to knoxvotes.org to find out where the early voting locations are, what their hours are. They've got all kinds of other information about voting, sample ballots and the like, and you can find that at knoxvotes.org.
And I wanted to jump in and make an amendment to something I said earlier, because I said that if you pull a Democratic ballot, you're not going to have many primaries to vote in, or any primaries to vote in, which is true as far as our local legislative races go. But there are statewide Democratic primaries for governor and U.S. Senate. So if you want to vote in those, then you would get a Democratic ballot, and you do actually have those races to vote in.
Well, all right. In addition to early voting, our legislative bodies are meeting this week. Knox County Commission meets on Monday for they have their monthly agenda review meeting, which is where they look at the and discuss items on their voting meeting agenda. And the voting meeting will be the following Monday. They also will be at 5 p.m. meeting to vote on zoning matters. But in agenda review, there's going to be probably, I mean, they don't have to talk about every item on the agenda. This one will probably get some attention. It was Commissioner Shane Jackson is proposing a change to the way the budget gets approved, and he's doing this in light of what transpired last month when County Commission voted to take $4 million in revenues away from the school system and give that to devote that to county employee, general government employee raises, which has forced the school system to cut some positions and enforce some pay cuts in various manners here and there, furloughs and that sort of thing. And there's been quite a bit of outcry about that. Right now, County Commission, the budget approval just takes one vote. So at that meeting, Commission Chair Gina Oster, kind of a surprise thing, pulled out and said, "We'll take this $4 million from the school system." It got approved with the rest of the budget, and Jackson wants there to be kind of brakes put on the process. He wants the budget to have require 2 readings to be approved, at least 7 days apart. You could only amend the budget as Oster did at first reading, and then there would be an opportunity at second reading to you wouldn't be able to propose any new amendments, but they would be able to rescind any amendments that had been approved in the previous meeting.
So if they pass a big school budget cut and then school people come and yell at them and say this is going to have all these terrible effects, then they could come back at the second vote and say, okay, we'll put that money back where it was.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things when they did this, it took school board by surprise. There were school officials there, and they were there was kind of the suggestion was made, they can just take it out of their fund balance. They have $71 million in reserves, and there was kind of a feeble, one of the school administrators was there, kind of said, well, we don't want to use those for ongoing expenses, and which is true. That's why they're having to eliminate teaching positions, not people. These are ended up being unfilled positions, where they were able to find other places for the people that had these jobs, but and also the pay cuts and all. And this ends up being on top of a $3.8 million shortfall in state funds for the school board. So basically, there's $7.8 million in revenues they're not getting. They were counting on. But this is designed to, if there is kind of a proposal that is brought up, an amendment that gets brought up the first reading of the budget, it allows commissioners to, even if they vote to approve the budget, they can go back and take a look at it, and if they change their minds, they can try to. And
it also allows some time for public response because,
absolutely.
I have a feeling that part of what Jackson's one of the Democrats on commission, and we don't know what the shape of county commission is going to be after this coming election. But it's possible that, we're still going to we are most likely still going to have a Republican majority on county commission. But the makeup of that majority may shift in ways that now that they know they can do this, because county commission hasn't really done this kind of thing before, this like last minute shuffling around of money right at the budget vote. Yeah. That if you got a sort of more hardline Republican majority on there that was didn't feel as obligated to respect the county mayor or the school board's desires, that they could just kind of come in and make any number of changes at the last minute, and there wouldn't really be much opportunity for people to respond to it. So it looks like Jackson, now that this is on the table, that this is something that can happen, it looks like what Jackson's trying to do is say, well, let's leave a little bit of time for commissioners and also their constituents to respond to any proposed last-minute changes.
Absolutely. Well, the first thing that would have to happen is county commission would have to pass an ordinance to make that change, and they're going to be talking about that Monday. We'll be there. Also, on Tuesday, the city council is going to meet at 5 p.m. as the beer board, same membership, and 6 p.m. As the voting meeting of the city council. This will be on Tuesday. Big thing on the council agenda is the Dominion Group has a proposal to build a 170-unit affordable housing building on the St. Mary's campus site next to the historic St. Mary's Hospital building. They are seeking $2 million from the Affordable Rental Development Fund to pay for 67 of those units. And or to help fund 67 of those units. This is part of the kind of envisioned development of the St. Mary's campus that has included the public safety complex. The Lincoln Memorial University now has control of the Magdalene Tower there. They have some of their academic programs there. There's more residential development going on the this is the north end of the property, kind of jutting into the Oakwood Lincoln Park neighborhood. It's ended up going to be a kind of a mixed use in that, or mixed income in that area. They've already approved townhouses for the property, the portion of the property that fronts Churchwell, at the edge of the property, and there will be townhouses there. These are going to be affordable housing units. There's also going to be, at some point, they hope to have a developer come in and redevelop the former St. Mary's Hospital building, which dates back to 1929, and redevelop it into some type of assisted living facility. But all of this is all part of kind of the concept that has been being kicked about for the last 7 years since the city obtained the St. Mary's property, and it's been something that people have been looking forward to, having more residences there, more people who would support the local businesses in the area. So that's something that is now going to be, apparently, assuming that this passes and they get the rest of their financial package put together, which as you find out when you cover these things, affordable housing developments usually take there are a lot of elements to the financing package than just going to a bank and getting a loan, and this is one of them. And they probably have other moving parts, but assuming that, then this will be another residential development project that will be moving forward. And of course, this is in your neck of the woods too, Jesse. So,
it is in my neck of the woods, and I think people are happy to see that. I mean, it's just kind of a big green space right now, but I think people are looking forward to it being filled in. Yeah,
it's my neck of the woods too. I shouldn't just say yours, but since we are more or less neighbors, anyway, that is those are the main things that are going to be happening next week that we know of. There will be things we don't know of, because that's what the definition of news is, and we'll be covering that if it happens in Knoxville and Knox County. And that's it for this installment of Compass Points. I want to thank Will Wright for providing our music for us, and of course Lord Seth Barber for his expertise on the engineering and technical side of it. We will be back next week with another installment of Compass Points.
CompassKnox.com is your best source for news and politics in Knoxville and Knox County. If you'd like to learn more about the topics discussed on today's podcast, go to CompassKnox.com and subscribe for in-depth coverage and much more. And many thanks to William Wright for composing our theme song. Compass Points is a partnership of Barking Shark Media and Barbarian Productions, and recorded by Lord Seth A. Barber at Barbarian Studios, Knoxville, Tennessee.